Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and you got to see this from eGrag Crypto. I'm beginning to wonder, I don't even know if eGrag Crypto is a man or a woman. I'm assuming it's a man, but he or she must have gotten burned by the opposite sex because they keep saying this: men and women lie, but numbers and charts don't lie. But what I liked out of this one is he sees something where he says XRP 85 cents to $1 is coming. Now that we can deal with. He's talking about the W patterns, but I want to get to some other things. So watch this. This is going to be an interesting video, by the way. I'm going to tie some things together that a lot of you may not know. And there's a lot of this that goes in the All the World's a Stage file too, by the way. First, let's look at this. According to Whale Alert, over 360 million XRP tokens worth around $129 million have been moved by whales in the past 24 hours. The biggest transaction was for 100 million XRP tokens worth approximately 53.4 million dollarinis. All right, this is interesting. This is Coinbase's general counsel. Paul, is his name Paul Graywall? I don't even know. Anyway, he was retweeting John Deaton. John Deaton had done a thread on what an investment contract is, and he says, Mr. Deaton is exactly right. Investment contracts must include both investments and contracts, as those terms are set out by Congress and interpreted by the Supreme Court. Neither is present when it comes to secondary sales of digital assets. And so when he tweeted this out, everybody on social media, including myself, says, okay, well then relist XRP. You don't have anything to lose. If the SEC is already targeting you, why not relist it? I mean, these guys, there's no reason under the sun. Look, I've said it before. We've seen how corrupt our government is in all facets. The last shoe to drop for me is our legal system. And I hope I hope the legal system is not a part of the corruption, and I think that you're going to find out. But there are certain things in this Ripple lawsuit that the judge cannot say if she's following the law. Cannot. One, that XRP itself is a security. The oranges were never the security. That's just a fact. And two, that in the secondary market, because you don't have an investment contract, in the secondary market, that XRP is a security. Those two things, I believe, the only reason you haven't gotten a declaration by a judge on those two things is because the SEC is like the mafia. They go after people that can't afford to fight them back. This is the first time that someone's had the money to fight them back. And that is the reason I'm so confident about at least those two things. If the judge comes and says those two things they're not what I just said, then we've got Houston, we have a bigger problem in this country than I think. Now, so let's move along. After everybody started saying relist, then this comes out, Whale Chart, and it's not April Fool's Day anymore. It says just in XRP may soon be relisted by Coinbase after being delisted last year. Now, I don't know if he just did this as a takeoff, he or she did this as a takeoff on the fact that on that tweet, or if they heard something was going to happen, but we'll see. Now, check this out. The banks are insolvent. Opinion: most U.S. banks are technically near insolvency and hundreds are already fully insolvent. Now listen up, folks. I'm about to tie some things together, and most of what I'm about to show you is going to be in the All the World's a Stage file. But and then it says across the ideological spectrum, people are arriving at the same conclusion: the banks are insolvent. We should have learned to distrust bankers. 2008, the 2008 crisis was the turning point in life for me. When I saw that, I knew that our country was not what it had been sold to us to be. When I saw the banks when I saw these politicians bailing out the banks and their friends and then picking and choosing winners and losers and how that was going to work out, I knew we had a big problem. Now, this is this Peter St. Is it Ong? I don't know, PhD. Anyway, I just know he's smart, and you should go follow him at PROFSTONGE. And he's been putting out these little videos where he kind of puts things in terms that we can all understand. Listen to what he says here about the banks and the insolvency.
The proceeds to the college fund. The problem comes if people start pulling money out of those banks. At that point, the banks have to sell to cover the withdrawals. They have to tell the wife. Well, they have to tell the FDIC about the GameStop lark. And that's exactly what's happening now. On top of over $120 billion flooding from small banks to large banks because of FDIC's mixed messages, Nick Bhatia has been tracking the outflows from the banking system as a whole. In the last month, about $300 billion came out of the banks. Where's all that money going? Some could be going to coffee cans and home safes, but overwhelmingly it's going to money market funds, which are a non-bank way to park cash that currently pays over 4%. By the way, if you're familiar with a stable coin, money market funds are basically stable coins. Credit to Ovik Roy for that insight. Now, all those outflows shrink the money supply fast. They're deflationary. Because money markets can't fractional reserve, and coffee cans definitely can't fractional reserve. I'll talk more about deflation and the subsequent inflation in the coming videos. I think it's going to be big. But for now, the big concern is what these $100 billion outflows are doing to banks, revealing that many of them did gamble the Christmas money on GameStop, and revealing that hundreds of them, maybe more, won't be able to make rent. All right, we'll be watching. See you next time.
Okay, so you got that. Now, check this out. This is from that guy that was on Fox News. I can't remember his name, but watch this clip right here.
When the collapse comes, the FDIC admits that they will send out an announcement. So get ready for this. They admit they will send out an announcement and they will tell us not to use money. This is how that's going to go down. They tell us that they plan on telling.
You know what that reminds me of? Remember the Jim Rickards Ice 9 video where he sits down with the BlackRock woman that works for the CEO of BlackRock. And he said this was his source. And he said that she says, they're trying to tell us that, what did he say? They're trying to tell us that we can't sell, or they're trying to tell us something like that. In other words, what he was saying was that they're going to shut down the bank and you won't be able to access your money, is what they're saying. What's being described here is just like Ice 9.
On a Friday night, see if you can guess why they would tell us on a Friday night that the banking system has collapsed.
There are a lot of things we've been thinking about, and what we want to hear from you today is what you're...
Now, remember, folks, this was that popular clip that was going around. It was the FDIC, and I'll show you the name of the advisory committee in a second. But this was that clip, remember, with Gary Cohn and several people, and they were talking about bail-ins and how we need to keep it quiet. We don't want to freak the people out. Well, this is the same committee that he's showing you here.
You think what the priorities would be in order to go about setting expectations appropriately in public about how we would execute Title II, so that if and when we do have to have that announcement on Friday night, ideally Friday night, that people are in a position to receive it, understand it, and say, yeah, that works. And we can see how this will happen. Of course, there will be doubters, but there's a lot of things going on.
So Friday night, of course, and the banking system is closed. So people all weekend can just be at home freaking out because, oh, wait a minute, I just lost, what's going to happen with my money? Yeah. My bank's going, we're in this economic, what the hell are you going to do about my money? It's gone. They're admitting this is coming.
Okay. Now, this was the committee. It's called the Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee. Now, this is where we get into some of the all the world's a stage stuff. Ben Bernanke's on it. He was at a Ripple swell back in maybe, was it 2017? Sheila Bair, I believe that's the woman who did an interview with Monica Long one time from Ripple. Then you got Jay Clayton, who filed the lawsuit against Ripple. Then you got Gary Cohn, who's the guy that, you remember the famous clip where he's on stage with Jay Clayton and Glenn Hutchins, and they're talking about crypto and all of that. And then you've got Sandy O'Connor, who used to be with JP Morgan and now is on the board at Ripple. You've got This guy's John Reed, who's the defender of the SEC all the time. He's an ex-SEC guy. We see him online all the time. Now, this is that famous video that went around about the bail-ins. And I think there was a clip missed in that. So I'm going to show you a couple of things, and then towards the end of this clip, there's an exchange between Sandy O'Connor, who's on the board, and the deputy governor of the Bank of England. He's in the head of financial stability. Okay, here it is right here. BOE deputy Sir John Cunliffe, BOE deputy governor for financial stability. Now, this is Sandy O'Connor that's on Ripple's board. This is Sir John Cunliffe. This is him. He did a whole speech about the digital pound. He says it's likely that a retail, general purpose, digital central bank currency, a digital pound, will be needed by the end of this decade. He discusses why this is the case, what the model could look like, and how the digital pound may sit with digital payments landscape. And as you go down, I think it's on this one, the model for the digital pound. Look at this. Tell me what this sounds like. We envisage the digital pound as a partnership with private sector. The bank would provide the digital pound and central infrastructure, including the core ledger. Private sector firms, which could be banks or approved non-banks, would provide the interface between the bank's central infrastructure and users by offering wallets and payment services. These private companies would be able to integrate the digital pound as the settlement asset into the services they would offer to wallet holders. The wallets would be operated on a pass-through basis. This is to say, they would not constitute a claim on the wallet provider in the way the bank account is a claim on the bank, nor would they represent custody arrangement. Rather, the wallets would hold all customer-related information and pass through the customer's instructions to the bank's infrastructure. Now, what does that sound like? Then there was this, October 14th, 2021, Ripple joins the Digital Pound Foundation, designing a path for a CBDC forward future. And then right here it says the Bank of England is actively working to navigate the practical and technological challenges of designing, implementing, and operating a digital pound that could play an important role in the expanding access to central bank money by households and businesses. Bank of England also recognized that evolving digital payments landscape brings the potential for faster, cheaper, sustainable, and more efficient payments with greater functionality. What does that sound like? What company does that sound like? And then here's the Digital Pound Foundation, and you'll see that on the Digital Pound Foundation you have Ripple. Then you see Board of Directors Susan Friedman Ripple. You got Quant and Electronium on there too. Then this is the Bank of England. We've shown this before. This was the Bank of England. They put this out, Digital Pound, a new form of money. Let's see if we can do the search. Here it is, Ripple, proof of concept with Bank of England, cross-border synchronization, a joint project with Ripple. Then this is what I found today. Let's hit a little refresh on that. This is Sandy O'Connor. I want you to listen to the words that they say. These are two words that I have not heard. Bail-inable debt, or series of words. Bail-inable debt and bail-in bonds, folks. Pay attention. Here's Sandy O'Connor, and she's having an exchange with that John Cunliffe, or whatever his name is.
Sell side, I think there's just a very clear drive by global industry, and I'm no longer in it anymore, to actually build up front resources because you want them to be predictable, manageable, and understood. Yet it seems really hard to get there. And I'm just curious as to your viewpoint, because it seems like, our regulators are aligned, our academics are aligned, the industry wants something, yet we are not there yet. And I think upfront is the way to go, and inclusive of bail-inable debt, except I would just offer, rather than shock absorbency, that's really a recapitalization mechanism, right? Because then it moves from a demutualized to a mutualized model, which is probably a more appropriate model, but that's just not where we are at the moment.
I'm not sure it's quite as one-sided as one thinks. And of course, the cost of bail-in bonds, as I say. So I think the default fund of the London Clearing House is around 10 billion. I don't know what the coupon will be on a bail-in bond, but that cost, particularly where there's a clearing mandate, and you're legally obliged to use the CCP, and I don't think any of us want to get into the economic regulation of CCPs, maybe one will have to go there one day. Those costs are going to come back to members as well. So I don't see this as such a one-sided set of issues to be.
Folks, you've heard about stable coins. You've heard about bail-in bonds. You've heard about things that you hear all the time. You hear these guys in finance, from Jamie Dimon to this guy. You'll see this guy say it here in this clip I'm about to play for you. He was on CNBC a year ago. They've told you very clearly it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's nothing but a crypto that's tied to nothing. But they talk all the time about how that doesn't mean that digital ledger and blockchain technology cannot be used. And what they're saying to you is that the new financial system is going to be built on some of these distributed ledger technologies, that they can build things that they want to build. In other words, things like the XRP ledger, where they can build their own CBDC or their own stable coin, or maybe their own bail-in bond even. They can build anything they want, or maybe a stable coin backed by gold. Watch what he says. They tell you all the time. Christine Lagarde said it. Jamie Dimon said it. He's saying it right here. It's not Bitcoin. It never was. It is distributed ledger technology, that where they can build the things that they want to build on this technology, on the XRP ledger, on the Stellar network.
You have to draw one very important distinction between some of the crypto assets that are out there that are purely speculative assets, have no backing. Bitcoin is a good example, nothing behind it. And where the price moves around hugely. And as we've said, if you invest in that sort of asset, you've got to be prepared to lose all of your money, because there's nothing underlying the asset itself. Draw a distinction between that and some of the proposals for using crypto technology for financial assets that are actually linked to something, stable coins, for example. And it's quite interesting. The Basel Committee on Banking Supervision has just put out some proposals on the cap holder crypto assets. They've drawn a very strong distinction between the highly speculative, nothing behind them type of asset, and assets that actually are backed with something.
Folks, I believe that these people have all planned for the controlled demolition of the current financial system. I believe they knew the day would come. I believe that, and the reason that I'm invested in Ripple private equity. I believe Ripple is going to be an integral part of that changeover to the financial system. The reason I have XRP on my ledger, by the way, all linked to is a sponsor, ledger sponsor, links are in the top of the description. The reason I have my XRP, I believe a lot of this new financial system is going to be built on the XRP ledger. And so in preparation for myself for these, what are coming is bail-ins, okay? However they do it, bail-ins are coming. In preparation for that, I've got my XRP on my ledger. I've got, I also have my Glen account where I buy gold in my Glen account, so that I have my MasterCard debit card for that. I have physical gold, but I believe that XRP, the XRP ledger, is where a lot of the things are going to be built, including the digital pound, maybe digital euro, maybe the digital dollar, even maybe. But I think that's what these people have been planning for a long time. I think we are sitting here at a place that won't happen again for another 200 years. I believe that my great grandchildren will be they'll be asking how in the hell I figured out what was going on at the right time. I truly do believe that. I believe, and I also believe that a link to everything I just showed you is in the top of the description of this video. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I am a believer. A funny story, when we were in Singapore, at Swell, Singapore, Mr. B, who's known as Nick Burafeto at Link2 now, was literally sitting behind Michael Arrington, the big, huge guy, like a 6'5" maybe. He's Brad Garlinghouse's best friend. Michael Arrington literally looks at Nick. He's talking to Nick, and he says, "Oh, so are you one of those effing believers?" Almost like he was just challenging him. And Nick looks at him and says, "Well, aren't you?" And Michael Arrington laughs and he goes, "Yeah."